So I don't think this needs an intro. You guys know what you're in for. Can the hero hunter from One Punch Man hunt down the heroes from My Hero Academia? What I will do is go over Garo's feats and statements and talk about where he would scale, then discuss how he would stack up against every single hero and villain of the verse. If you enjoy concepts like this, then of course don't forget to like and subscribe. I make videos like this all the time and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. And also go check out one of my previous videos I made talking about Deku versus the S-Class. It's kind of the same premise as this and I go pretty in depth with their scales, so go give that a watch. With all of that said, let's get into the skills and see who wins. So to make this fight at least somewhat entertaining, I won't use this cosmic form, as obviously there's no character in My Hero Academia scaling to that version of Garo. So I'll just cover feats from when he was a human, and then talk about all of his major feats in his monster form. But first I want to explain his main way of fighting, which is known as the Flowing Water Fist, a fighting style that contains the perfect mix of offense and defense. This technique allows him to redirect any physical attack and return it with double the force, along with being able to hit a person's vital points to paralyze them. What elevates his fighting style even more is his ability to pretty much mimic any person he fights against. The two biggest examples of this include his fight with Watchdog Man and Saitama, where he is shown to use their moveset of attacks on different people. This constant ability of mimicking others allows him to grow stronger in every fight he partakes in. But just how strong specifically? Base Garo at worst would be as strong as the weaker side of the S-Class heroes. He was easily able to pack up Tank Top Master without much effort, and was almost able to beat Metal Bat without getting hit a single time. Even while beaten, battered, and poisoned, he was still able to clutch up against a group of A-Class and B-Class heroes all on his own. Most of those characters I've mentioned have feats on fighting demon level monsters, which are capable of destroying entire cities. Not to mention Genos, who also has a feat of blowing off a chunk of a mountain, who Garo also fights against even while extremely weakened, making it evident for Garo to scale between city level to mountain level. His fight against Genos also shows some relativity for their speed, again while extremely weakened. To put this into perspective, Genos back in season 1 was able to maneuver around multiple lasers at once. Genos later in season 2 will get many different upgrades to his body, making him faster and stronger. And Garo, while ultra nerfed, is still reacting and dodging attacks from the stronger version of Genos. So this is just to say a fully fresh and healthy human Garo would be well above Lightspeed. Now for his monster form. His constant adaptation allowed him to create a new move that was able to one-shot Sage Centipede, a god level monster which is commonly scaled between country or multi-continental. This already places him above most of the S-Class including Bang and Darkshine, who he was able to beat on his own as well. Garo will later get a new upgraded form against Saitama where he demonstrates a feat of displacing the Earth's crust and even pushes into the Earth to form a massive bulge on the opposite side of the planet. This feat makes it easily concrete to scale him at multi-continental, and maybe even small planetary, as by this point he should be on par or even above Tatsumaki, who also has feats in that range. His speed is also massively above his human form, as he has shown Lightspeed feats on his own by fighting against Flashy Flash and Platinum S. Flashy Flash has a statement of being able to move at the speed of light, Platinum S is someone who should be relative or faster than Flashy Flash, and Garo in a weaker form was able to keep up with both of them at the same time. There's even a calculation for their Constellation feat that places him and Platinum S at around 4 times the speed of light, and Garo would then get 3 additional forms later on that boost his stats, which would easily make him dozens of times faster than light consistently. Now as for his kit, he has a lot of abilities that he uses a lot, but I'll just mention the few that actually matter for this cross-verse fight. His most important skill set being his mimicking and adaptation factor that I mentioned earlier. Even if he is weaker than someone, he can still copy one's attacks and match their level of power, like he did with Sage Centipede and Saitama. There's also his named attacks Fa Jin and Fist of Roaring Ki, which can bypass conventional durability, and some other minor techniques that are useful like regen, growing extra limbs and wings, as well as certain resistance to things such as fire, poison, and electricity. Like I said, he has other abilities that he has used before, but these are really going to be the main ones I'm going to mention when I talk about his fights against the My Hero universe. So with that said, how strong is he compared to My Hero Academia? So when talking about the entire My Hero universe, I won't mention every single character as there is literally over 240 heroes and villains that are currently active or have been active throughout the story, and most of them don't really need to be discussed individually as the majority of them are pretty fodder and don't have much to offer on their own. So instead I'll just categorize all of them into groups and mention where they scale to, as well as talk about what they could do against Garo. The first group will be the low tiers of the verse. This includes the majority of class 1A and pretty much the rest of the verse. Most of these characters have different levels of power and speed, but grouping them up together, this should be around that city block tier more or less. And as for speed, even a fodder character such as Kim and Nari can move at lightning timer speeds. So at a baseline, most of this group should scale around massively hypersonic more or less. With that said, Garo is easily wiping his ass with this group. There isn't really any win cons for any of them, and even if they did, the stat difference is just way too huge for any of them to do any meaningful damage to Garo. Next, I can talk about the mid tiers, which include any character that scales above or below an out of prime All Might, such as Stars and Stripes, All For One, Endeavor, Miriko, and Dabi. All of the characters in this tier either have statements comparing them to All Might or have fought characters relative to him. An example being Endeavor being able to damage Shigaraki on numerous occasions, who has been compared to All Might in physical stats, as well as fighting a stronger, upgraded version of Nomu, who was created solely to fight against All Might. Dabi has been stated to have stronger flames than Endeavor, who also fights pretty relative with Mount Lady. Even Shoto and Bakugo also have shown feats against people in this tier, meaning these characters are somewhat relative to a weakened Shigaraki, who like I said earlier is comparable to All Might, making this group around multi-continental at the very worst, as even the weaker side of this tier have calculations that put them at that level. When it comes to speed for this tier, pretty much every character here scales above numerous feats of dodging things such as lasers and radio waves, so this group also scales between FTL or FTL+. Now as for Garo, this is where he struggles the most, as almost every character here is just as strong as him, although combatively he still has a major advantage with his fighting style. Most characters here are fire based users, which Garo can get himself around very quickly. All of them are great fighters in their own right, but none of them have the counter against pressure points or just their flames being redirected at them. The only solid win condition against Garo would be New Order. If Stars and Stripes touches a target and says its name, then she can freely impose any rule on that said target, meaning if she's able to make contact on Garo, then the fight will heavily turn on her favor, as Garo won't have any counter if she just made a rule to make his heart stop beating or making him unable to move. The best argument I could see against this is if Stars and Stripes' view on Garo doesn't align with his own. For example, if he views Garo as a human and he sees himself as a monster, then that could be a counter argument. However, if you believe New Order can still get through Garo, then she most likely wins. If not, then Garo should probably win. It'll be extremely close, but Garo's hand-to-hand and battle mimicry should carry him through. As for All For One, his main win con is through stealing quirks, which wouldn't be all that useful as Garo doesn't have any quirks, and the quirks we've seen All For One use are mainly based on raw power and not a lot of hacks. His most useful quirk for this fight will probably be Search and Recoil, as Search could help find Garo's weak spots, and Recoil can also redirect attacks just like Garo. For this particular fight, I don't have a definitive answer on who wins, as their stats are pretty relative. I still think Garo's a better fighter combatively, and he can negate durability, which All For One doesn't have an answer for, so Garo should barely squeak this one out, although you could argue it could go either way. There are a lot of characters I didn't mention like Dark Might or Tokiyami, but again, they're the same tier of AP and speed, and I don't want to just keep reinstating the same point of it could go either way. You get the point already. I covered the main win cons that have a chance, so with that said, I can finally discuss the high tiers who are obviously the peak of My Hero Academia, who are Deku, All Might, and Shigaraki. These three have been compared to each other numerous times and scale above every single feat I've previously mentioned, as well as having their own feats like Deku being able to change the weather across Japan and America. A feat like this I've seen scaled between multi-continental to even planetary, considering Deku has been able to perform a similar feat in a much weaker state way before this, and also considering other characters have multi-continental scaling who are definitively weaker than these three, they are obviously above that tier, probably around moon level to even small planetary at a high end. Now as for Garo, this isn't going to go very well for him, as not only they are just as strong if not stronger than Garo, but they also have the hacks that he just has no counter against. No matter how much damage he does to Shigaraki, he has no chance against decay. All it really takes is just one touch and it's pretty much over, and because they are relative in speed, I don't see a world where Shigaraki loses this. Deku and All Might are a pretty different story, as a fight between Garo and these two are actually pretty close. Garo I believe is a better hand-to-hand fighter, although he is statistically weaker, and the fact Deku and All Might have shown the power to change fate when they are on the losing side. Now yes, Garo also has his own way of changing fate by just through sheer willpower and determination, but again Deku and All Might are just overall stronger. They can endure just as much as Garo can, and again even if Garo was winning, both of them have legit fate-defying power that'll help them win in the end. I know that sounds like it lacks nuance, but it generally is the best win con, and stat by stat, Deku and All Might are superior in most categories other than just things like stamina or combative skill. A fight between Garo against Deku and All Might is still really close, but I give the edge to those two. And with Shigaraki, I don't think Garo stands a chance. But that's all I have for this video. Let me know what you think of my takes in the comments. Does Garo wipe the entire verse, or does he not stand a chance against anyone? If you enjoyed this video and want more stuff like this, then of course leave a like and subscribe. That tells me that you guys enjoy what I put out, so of course I'll make more of it. With all of that said, thank you for watching.